In today's video, I'm going to show you exactly how much you should be saving to ensure you're on track for your retirement goals. Hey everyone, I'm James Knoll, founder of Root Financial, and I'm here to teach you how to get the most out of life with your money. Preparing for retirement can be really hard. One of the biggest challenges is understanding how much do I even need to be saving to be on track for this retirement goal. Not just that, but if you look at the experts, they're all saying different things. Dave Ramsey is saying you should be saving 15% of your income to retirement. Susie Orman looks at it a different way. She says understand how much money you need from your portfolio each year, then multiply that number by the number of years you expect to live. So that's going to give you the amount you need to retire. Then Robert Kiyosaki, he looks at it a completely different way. He says don't look at your retirement portfolio as a portfolio, but rather look at it as a nest egg that's going to be able to generate cash flow for you that you'll never outlive. Now, all these experts have different guidance, and that's because they're telling you to save and invest in different things to get to the same ultimate goal. So who do you believe? Who do you trust? How do you know what you actually need to do to be on track for your goals? Well, today, I'm gonna walk you through a 5-step framework that you can apply to your specific situation to understand exactly how much you need to be on track for your retirement goals. Now, before we jump in, as I mentioned, whether it's Dave Ramsey or Susie Orman or Robert Kiyosaki or others, they all say different things. I would love to hear from you. How much do you think you need to be saving to be on track for your retirement goals? Let's all learn from one another in this and be sure to post that in the comments below. Now, all these experts, as I mentioned, they have different approaches to understanding how much you should save for retirement. The reality is this: there's no one-size-fits-all approach. Let's look at a simple example to understand why. Let's assume someone says you need to save 10% per year to be on track for retirement. Okay, let's look at the numbers. Let's look at two individuals. Both of them want to retire at 65. Both of them make $75,000 per year, and both of them are saving 10% per year for retirement. Are they both going to be in the same position by age 65? Well, it depends. It depends on their age and when they actually started investing. Let's assume that person one started investing at age 25. Does that all the way to 65 and again invest 10% of $75,000 per year. Person number two doesn't start until age 55. Also saving 10% and also still retiring at 65. Well, if we assume that they get an 8% per year average return, person number one has well over $1.9 million in their portfolio by the time they turn 65, where person two barely has more than $100,000 in their portfolio at age 65. So we can see right off the bat, two people with the same retirement age, the same income, and the same savings rate, it doesn't mean they're gonna get to the same ultimate outcome. So much of this depends on when you start saving, what your growth rate's gonna be, what your expenses in retirement are gonna be. And so instead of using some rule of thumb of save 10% or 15% or anything else, let's set that aside for a second and go through a framework that you can apply to your situation to get the precise number you need to save. So here's the 5 steps that you need to understand in order to come up with this number. Number one, and this is gonna be the most challenging of them, but you need to estimate future expenses. Now, if we can get through this step, I know that seems daunting. Maybe you're 45 today and think, I don't know how much this is gonna cost when I'm 65. Well, don't think that far yet. Look at today. How much does it cost for you to live today as a very simple starting point? Now, you may already have a spreadsheet that outlines all of your expenses, and you can say, without even thinking about it, exactly how much it costs to live today. My guess is most of you have no idea how much it might cost in the future, let alone today. Let's start with this. Start with how much money actually hits your bank account each month. So much of us know our annual salary, but we have no idea how much we're actually living on. Because with our annual salary, that's before taxes, before retirement contributions, before deductions. So if we can start with that, well, after taxes, after 401k, after all the things that come out of our bank account, look at how much actually hits your bank account on a monthly basis. Is it $4,000 per month? Is it $10,000 per month? Whatever it is, start with that. Once you have that number, look at some of the expenses today that won't be there when you are retired. Maybe you're saving $1,000 per month today from your take-home paycheck for retirement. Well, in retirement, you don't need to save for retirement. So remove that $1,000 per month. Maybe you have a mortgage payment that's $1,500 per month of only the principal and interest. Well, by the time that you retire, your mortgage is paid off, that $1,500 will go away. Keep in mind property taxes and insurance, that will stay, but the principal and interest portion will go away. So as you do this, you can start to filter out between what are your expenses today, remove some of the items that will be gone in the future so you can understand how much of your take-home income today do you actually need to retire. Well, step number 2 is you need to adjust for inflation. Now, inflation historically has been about 3%. Obviously today, it's a lot more than 3%, and this is something that really trips people up. They say, how on earth are you going to use a 3% inflation rate going forward when inflation today is 8, 9, 10%? Well, what we're more concerned about is inflation rate over the next several decades. Some years it'll be really high like it is right now. Other years it will be much lower. So I would not project out 8, 9, 10% inflation forever. Now you certainly could, but what you'll see is the cost of living quickly becomes unsustainable. So if we use 3% as a starting point, it looks something like this. Today, we need $60,000 per year to live on. 3% per year of increases over the next 15 years, if we plug that into a calculator, means by age 65, we would need $101,000 per year of living expenses to maintain the same purchasing power that we have today on $60,000. Now, if we just change inflation from 3% to 4%, so not that significant of an increase seemingly, well, now instead of needing $101,000 per year at age 65, we would need $117,000 per year at age 65. So you can see how some small tweaks and percentages, when compounded, have fairly dramatic impacts. So as we're looking at this, for this example, I'm going to use that 3% number. You can use whatever you feel most comfortable with as you do your own calculation. But step number 2 is take the number we came up with in step number 1, which is $60,000 per year in this example. Step number 2 is adjust that number for inflation. So 101,000 is what 60,000 turns into over 15 years at 3% inflation. I'm just going to round that to 100,000 for simple math. And then step number 3 is back out other income sources in retirement. So the goal of retirement is to come up with income to meet our expenses. At its essence, that's what retirement planning is. So if we know that we need $100,000 starting in 15 years, because again, we're 50 years old today and want to retire at 65, we need to understand what income sources that have nothing to do with our portfolio will be able to support us at that point. This could be things like Social Security, this could be things like rental income, this could be things like a pension. Really, it's income sources that you have coming in that aren't requiring you to draw down your portfolio. For our example, this individual who's 50 years old, let's assume that this individual and his or her spouse have a Social Security benefit that will represent $2,500 per month by age 65, so after adjusting for inflation. Well, if they both have benefits of $2,500 per month, that's a combined benefit of $5,000 per month, which is $60,000 per year. So step number 3 is to say, how do we back that $60,000 out from $100,000? They need $100,000 in future dollars. $60,000 that is already covered from Social Security before we even dip into the investments. What that tells us is the remaining $40,000 per year, that's what their investments need to cover. That's what their portfolio needs to be able to be structured in order to create that level of income from age 65 and beyond. This then ties into step number 4. Step number 4 is apply a withdrawal rate to understand how much portfolio you need. So if we use the most simple 4% rule, well, what that tells us is if we need $40,000 per year and we divide that by 4%, that's going to give us the portfolio balance needed to generate that $40,000 per year. So if we do the simple math, 40,000 divided by 4% equals exactly $1 million. So if that's the situation, this individual will need $1 million in their portfolio by age 65 so that after Social Security, they could take 4% from their portfolio and be able to generate the inflation-adjusted equivalent of $60,000 in today's dollars. Now that's if you're using a 4% withdrawal rule. We've talked about Guyton's guardrails, we've talked about other withdrawal approaches that say if you structure things differently and take a more dynamic approach, you can maybe withdraw closer to 5.5% that first year of retirement. Well, if you apply a 5.5% withdrawal rate to that portfolio or to that income level of $40,000 per year, what that means is you really only need $727,000 per year. You need a smaller balance because you can take more each year and sustainably generate that income level you need over time. Now, just a quick disclaimer here, I'm not even factoring in taxes yet. This is a very basic example. So whether that portfolio was in a Roth IRA or a 401k or a brokerage account, and depending on your unique and specific tax bracket, well, these numbers are going to look different. So this is just a basic framework that you can apply, but just full disclaimer, this is before taxes are applied. Now, with this number, what we've done, or with this step, what we've done is we've determined what's our final portfolio value goal. What we're trying to do is we're trying to say, what do we need to get to in our portfolio by some age, so 65 in this example, so that then we can work backwards to today to start to understand how much do we need to start saving in order to hit that retirement portfolio goal. Now, step number 5 is to use a retirement calculator to work backwards to solve for how much do you need to save on an annual or monthly basis to be on track to hit your number. So let's assume that we need to hit $1 million like we saw in that previous example if we apply a 4% withdrawal rate. How do we get there? Well, let's assume today you have $300,000 in your portfolio. And you say, wow, $300,000 today, I need to hit $1 million. I need to triple or more my portfolio value. That seems like a really daunting thing to have to be able to do. Well, let's look at the portfolio calculator. If I pull this up here, what you see, I've put in here, what's the number of periods? So how many years until I need to hit this goal? 15. So again, 50 years old today, retire at 65. What's the interest per year? So when the financial calculator asks this, it's asking what average growth rate do you want to assume? You can assume whatever you want here. Again, the long-term average of the S&P 500 is close to 10%, but that's not consistent, it's not guaranteed, and that's an all-stock portfolio. You can plan for a much lower number if you feel like being conservative. 6% is somewhere in the middle here, so I'm going to use this for the example of what if this portfolio on average grows at 6% per year. 300,000, this is my starting value. You'll see when you plug this into a financial calculator, you use a negative. It's almost like you're putting 300,000 in. The future value is what you're going to have, which is that $1 million. If you click calculate here, you'll see what this shows is it results in a payment, and that payment is essentially what do you need to put in, of $12,074. Now that payment, you might ask, well, is that per month? Is that per year? This payment is based upon the period that you're using here. So you see if I go back to this box, the number of periods is 15, and the unit of measurement is years. So the payment of $12,074, that's per year. So in other words, what this is saying is you need to save $1,000 per month starting today with $300,000 in your portfolio. And if you grow that by 6% per year, and if you do that for 15 years, you will have $1 million in your portfolio by the time that you turn 65. So what have we just done here? Well, what we've done is we said, okay, the experts say save 15% or save 10% or view your money differently. That's all good generic advice, but we need something that's specific to us. We need something that's practical to us. So in going through these steps of understanding what retirement expenses will be, number 1. Number 2, adjusting that for inflation. Number 3, backing out portfolio or non-portfolio income sources. Number 4, applying a withdrawal rate to understand your future portfolio goal. And then number 5, working backwards to say how much do I need to save each year to hit that portfolio goal. What you've just done is giving yourself a specific number, a specific goal, and you can now focus on that on a daily, weekly, monthly basis of how do I hit that goal, as opposed to worrying and wondering how much do I really need to save for retirement. So if you can apply this, this is going to get you much further than any rule of thumb or any quote unquote expert guidance that you might hear that's not specific or unique to you. So as we've seen here, planning for your retirement can seem really daunting and can be really overwhelming. But if we can distill it down into the foundational pieces, it becomes much less so. If you want more videos and content like this that helps you to simplify the retirement planning process, be sure to check out the playlist above. Once again, I'm James Knoll, founder of Root Financial, and if you're interested in seeing how we help our clients at Root Financial get the most out of life with their money, be sure to visit us at www.rootfinancialpartners.com.